Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Right Side. Ladies and gentlemen, coming to you from smack dab in the middle of the fruited plain. Today on the program, what has happened in Missouri can happen in your state. We're going to talk about the coup that has just taken place in my home state, the Show Me State, Missouri. A group of swamp-dwelling rhino establishment creatures have put forth an illegal, let me just say illegitimate, delegation slate to go up to Milwaukee. It's a travesty. We cannot stand for this. They lost in a landslide election in May in that state's GOP convention. And they're putting forth absolutely a slate that is not the will of the people, nor the winning slate of that convention that was held in May. We are doing everything we can on the phones with the campaign, on the phones with the Trump campaign and others in the RNC. Today, ladies and gentlemen, explaining what can happen in Missouri can happen where you live. The Right Side with Doug Billings is now upon you. Are you ready? Let's go.
Hey everybody, my name is General Mike Flynn, and I'm here to do a big shout out for my great friend and one of the best in the business, Mr. Doug Billings. Right Side with Doug Billings, Right Side with Doug Billings. Doug is the future of the airwaves when it comes to independent broadcasters and podcasters. He is the new Rush Limbaugh. He's exactly what America needs right now, looking for honesty, looking for wisdom, looking for truth, looking for patriotism. Listen to Doug Billings at Right Side with Doug Billings. God bless you and God bless America, and thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are winning. We're winning, winning, winning. Welcome to The Right Side with Doug Billings. Are you ready?
We are not liberal snowflakes who melt away in the face of tragedy, adversity, and challenge. We are a covenant nation under God, and His divine providence is not dead and it's not gone. It is living within each and every one of you. And you will bring it to life in such a way that the world has never seen before. We never back down. We never give up. We march forward.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to The Right Side. Doug Billings here. We are enraged tonight at what is going on in the state of Missouri. Absolutely a tyrannical adjustment that has been made by the leadership of the Missouri GOP. The swamp, alive and well. On paper, Missouri is a red state. You'd never know it precisely because of the kinds of problems that have been displayed and exhibited by the Missouri GOP this past week. The swamp. It's a term that many of us are familiar with. President Trump was the first person that I remember, at least, who used the term. We're going to drain the swamp. We're going to get rid of these swamp creatures. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going, look, yeah, this is a big issue. We're going to have several people on the program tonight from the state of Missouri to talk about this. The Missouri GOP just a couple of months ago elected a true grassroots MAGA slate of delegates to go to Milwaukee for the RNC National Convention. Now, the Missouri GOP swamp, led by its rhino chairman Nick Myers, with the help of swamp establishment members Chris Howard, Derek Good, Carrie Almond, I could go on, have thrown out the duly elected members of the true grassroots Trump slate, just thrown them out on a technicality that's abject BS. They have put forth a slate that is filled with the very kind of establishment swamp-dwelling creatures that we have been working so hard to rid not just the state, but the republic of. So tonight, I'm going to have some of these grassroots MAGA conservatives on the program. First up in just a few minutes, we'll have Will Scharf. Will is an attorney for President Trump. You've seen him all over the place on the legacy media stations, giving his analysis on the lawfare that has been waged against President Trump and his victories, thankfully, that are coming down in appellate courts and in the Supreme Court. We're going to have Bill Eigel on the program. As far as I'm concerned, the candidate that you wanted, if you want a template for a governor and a candidate of the governor position, Bill Eigel is that template. MAGA, grassroots, conservative. Also on the program, the candidate for Secretary of State in the state of Missouri, Denny Hoskins, will be joining us. Also, in the second half of the program, Maisie Christensen, who is a Missouri state representative, and Kobe Collins, who is a Missouri grassroots patriot and somewhat of an expert in what's going on with this situation in the state of Missouri. As I said, what's happening in Missouri can happen in your state. Therefore, this show tonight is important to all of you, especially those of you who are involved in the grassroots movement. You know me. For the last 4 years, I've been encouraging you to get involved in your local communities. This is how we take the republic back. We have a rhino problem in our party across the republic, not just in Missouri, not just in Arizona, but in all states. People who want to put an R behind their name and run as a Republican, or people who have been entrenched in this political system for 15, 20, 25, 30 or more years. Ladies and gentlemen, the founding fathers had no intent for anybody to be involved in politics for 30 or more years, not even 15 or more years. So we have people that are ensconced in their positions who do not want to give up power, who have become part of the problem, and they blatantly disregard the will of a group of people, a group of patriots, hundreds of them in the state, who resoundingly voted in their slate of delegates for the convention in Milwaukee coming up on Sunday. It is outrageous. I want to take your calls. I want you to call in and talk to us about this. 901-316-8404, 901-316-8404. You're going to want to get in line for these phone calls. We're going to take the calls. This is going to be a big one. It's going to be a big topic. We are outraged. We cannot put up with this. If we allow this kind of thing to happen, and I'm going to call people, look, this is what's great. We all do what we can do, right? You good people in the audience, get involved in your local levels. Do what you can do, whether it's school board, whether it's canvassing neighborhoods, whether it's walking neighborhoods and door knocking for your candidate of choice, whether it's getting involved in polling stations and being a volunteer or a paid election observer, Republican committee men and women, positions all throughout the country. You do what you can do. And tonight I'm joining forces with you, as I always do, to take back the republic. We have a problem. Houston, we have a problem. Missouri, we have a problem. I'm going to talk about names. I'm going to name the names. I'm going to show you video. I'm going to show you emails. I'm going to have these experts who were there at the convention come forward and talk about what is going on, this debacle. It cannot stand. It simply cannot. If you like what you're hearing, I always remind you, you can watch this program live. We're going out live right now on X, on YouTube, on Rumble, on Facebook, on my website. Please like, please follow, please subscribe. The website, DougBillings.us. I always like to drive you over there. Take a look at the website. Click on the donate button if you would. Prayerfully consider a monthly recurring donate. This is how we get the truth to you. The show is always free. Never charge you for the show. Just prayerfully consider what you think this kind of truth is like. And then today, after this program, share the heck out of it. Share it everywhere. Again, what happens in Missouri can happen wherever you live. Wherever you live. I want you to know that this is how we try here on this program to have your back. Look, I was born in Missouri and raised there in Jackson County. Thank you very much. On paper, as I said, the slate is the legislature is red. It's thoroughly Republican. But there is a rhino problem. A huge rhino problem. In the case of our legislatures in Missouri, as in so many others, now I don't live in Missouri anymore, but it's got a tender spot in my heart. This rhino problem is real. And rhinos, in case you all don't know, how do you tell? Because it begs the question, right? How do I tell who's a rhino or not? A person who's been involved in politics for more than 15 years, that person may be. We don't need that. We need term limits. If you're hanging around that long, find us. What's your succession plan? Get somebody in there, because you become part of the establishment and you become entrenched. That was not the intent of the founding fathers. Another way is that you want to know who a rhino is. Look at a person and what they say, especially about election integrity. Oh, we don't have an election integrity problem. No, that's fine. And these machines, there's no proof that these machines could really affect the outcome of an election. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a rhino. And that's a real problem. If you have a candidate or someone who's already in office who has said in so many words that they don't believe that there's an election integrity issue, who have not worked diligently to get rid of the machines in the state that you live, that's a problem. And we cannot and we must not give that person our vote or our support to either get into office or remain in office. And then finally, a person who votes with the Democratic Party, a rhino. This person is the kind who knows that they can't win an election in their district, so they run as a Republican because they know, being a real Democrat, they can't win as a Democrat. So they register as a Republican and they run and they win and they get in there and they vote with the radical liberal left almost every time. That's why vetting is so important. If you are not vetting your candidates in your state, that's a mistake. Well, Doug, who's going to tell us who these Republicans really are? Who's going to be the group that deems these people true Republicans? You all are, by virtue of their voting record, by virtue of what they stand for. Ask them the questions. Do they stand for what the MAGA America First movement is all about? Do they stand in and believe in the rebranding of the Republican Party as put forth by President Trump? And they've got to be able to honestly answer those questions, and you've got to put them on record as such. If you don't vet, that is the height of intellectual immaturity. And it's a sure way to continue the problem that we have certainly in Missouri, but across the Republic as well. The same thing can be said for all of the people that occupy positions in your state's GOP committee, your state's GOP leadership. There are plenty of them. They want the power. They want the prestige. They want the title. They want to go to the convention. They want to get to meet President Trump, whatever it may be, but who are not following the will of the people back home. And in Missouri, that's exactly the group that's trying to attend and go, and in fact have put forth an illegitimate slate of delegates. When we come back, we're going to have Will Scharf, Denny Hoskins, and Bill Eigel on the program. We're going to dive deep into this, ladies and gentlemen. Bear with me as we get all of this set up and we go through it step by step tonight. And remember, please take a moment to support the program at dougbillings.us. Head over there and prayerfully consider whatever you can do. I will be right back after this very short break. Stay with me for a powerful program. Cheers.
We live in uncertain times. In fact, we live at a time when our own governments all over the world are warning us that there could be big problems with our power grid. World War III seems to be right on the horizon. Let me ask you this. Do you have a satellite phone? Should communications go down with cell towers? Do you have a satellite phone to get a hold of that college student or your spouse who travels, whatever it might be, to get a hold of your senior adult parents? We have satellite phones at worldviewtalk.com, and you get the satellite phone for free when you sign up for their very reasonable payment programs for the service. Sign up for the service with a reasonable contract, get the satellite phone for free. Worldviewtalk.com. You'll also find they have, well, what I now have, which is a solar generator. Yeah, I have a gas generator, an LP propane generator, but what if that goes down? I want to back up to my backup. So I now have a solar generator as well. You'll find them at worldviewtalk.com. Check it out today, worldviewtalk.com.
The Right Side with Doug Billings, where we meet in determined prayer and determined patriotism.
All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to The Right Side with Doug Billings. Yes, indeed. Determined prayer, determined patriotism. That is how we roll over here. We're going to get right to it. The state of Missouri has experienced a coup in a very real sense. I want to bring on three gentlemen, happy, proud, and privileged to be able to call these men friends of mine. Bill Eigel, the template for a governor. If you are looking for somebody to base a governor on, Bill Eigel is your guy. He's joining us. Will Scharf, one of the attorneys on President Trump's team running for district attorney in the state of Missouri, and Denny Hoskins, the candidate for Secretary of State in Missouri. Gentlemen, welcome to The Right Side.
Great to be with you, Doug. Thanks for having us.
Look at this.
Thanks for having us, Doug.
All we need is the Brady Bunch theme going on here. Look at that. All right, so a box of I must say, good-looking guys. Here you are, gentlemen. Real quickly, Missouri. I'm just going to go down the line here. We have not rehearsed this. We have not spoken about it. We're all aware of it. But as far as what I'm about ready to ask you, I just want a quick off-the-cuff answer. We have in Missouri a delegation, a convention rather, that was held in May. The Missouri GOP held their convention in May. They had an election. They voted for new leadership. The new leadership slate won, and they voted for delegates to go to the RNC National Convention in Milwaukee. And the grassroots platform, the slate, won in a landslide. We have video of this. We'll show it later in the program. And most of you, if not all of you, were there, I believe. Most all of you were there and took part in this. You witnessed it firsthand. So Bill, let me start with you. You're the candidate in Missouri for governor. What in 1 minute or less, and I know that's sometimes tough for people like you and I, but 1 minute or less, what did you see happen with regards to this controversy that we are talking about in Missouri?
Yeah, so the short story is you had the Missouri grassroots show up to the state convention and by a 2-to-1 margin voted in their own convention chair, a gal by the name of Sophia Shore. She's actually my campaign manager that actually led a takeover of the Missouri State Convention for the GOP and installed a full slate of Trump-supporting delegates that were slated to go to Milwaukee. And they not only did that, they actually elected electors for Donald J. Trump, and they were in the process of actually adopting a fantastic party platform that got derailed at the end. But now we have the Rhino establishment in Jefferson City vacating those delegates of their position and installing their own slate instead. So what you have is the state party just silencing more than 900 delegates that showed up to have their voice recorded down in Springfield a couple months ago. And it's a real shame. They absolutely need to send the original slate of duly elected delegates to Milwaukee. And the fact that they think that they could just silence those is a real tragedy. I came out yesterday and I have to let them know that this has got to come to an end for Republicans to be doing this to other Republicans. When I'm the governor of this state, we're not only going to reimburse the individuals who may have lost deposits or reservations for Milwaukee, but we're never going to let the grassroots get run over again.
Denny, you are running for Secretary of State in Missouri. We've been on the stump, you and I, Bill and Will. We've all been out there at various events throughout the state. When you look at this and you juxtapose what's going on now against what your future role will be as Secretary of State, how do you view yourself having an impact in course correcting this kind of nonsense?
Well, most certainly. We all know that the election was stolen in 2020, and most certainly the election was stolen on this slate. I've said that, hey, the original slate that was approved by those delegates at the Missouri GOP convention in Springfield, that needs to be the slate that goes to Milwaukee. The election was stolen from them. They should have reinstalled the original slate that was voted in. That's what the delegates approved in Springfield, and that's the one that we should stick with.
And Will, you, one of the attorneys that serve on President Trump's team, you're running for district attorney, I should say attorney general in the state of Missouri. You clearly, I saw your social media posts. You're on the side of us all here. You think that this is crazy. It's illegitimate. Is there a role for you to play going down once you win the role of Attorney General in the state of Missouri? Is there a role for you to play in course correcting this? And what do you think people ought to be doing today in the grassroots in Missouri?
Yeah, so look, this is an outrage. Grassroots conservatives all across the state came together and organized, and we got our people out to the state convention, and we dominated the state convention. And now it's the same rhino establishment in Jefferson City that's been running this state into the ground for decades. It's the same people who are robbing us of our chance to be represented by the delegates of our choice at the Republican National Convention. It's absolutely outrageous, and I think it speaks to the problem that you were talking about before, Doug, where Missouri is this deep red state that's run by a bunch of people who just aren't conservatives. And they don't feel as though they have to listen to grassroots conservatives. They don't feel as though they're answerable to we the people, to the voters of the state of Missouri. And unless we send them a shock soon, unless we elect good, strong, real conservative Republicans up and down the ballot this August, they're going to keep doing exactly what they've always been doing, which is kowtowing to the lobbyists and the special interests and the folks who have been running this state into the ground. It's time for a change, and nothing shows that better than our slate of conservative grassroots delegates being absolutely robbed of their chance to attend the Republican National Convention.
Okay, gentlemen, a question for all of you here is excellent answers. I appreciate them. The conservative movement across this country, whether or not you're in Missouri, makes no difference. The conservative movement across this country hears you. They hear you loud and clear, and they can tell in your voice and see it in your face the passion that you have about this issue. What can be done before Sunday, before this convention begins? If anything, is there any way that the winners of this delegate slate can attend Milwaukee in their roles as elected, or will we have to wait and do more work on the back end of this? And is there anything that can be done?
I guess I'll take that, Doug. An appeal has been filed of the decision by the RNC. I'm hoping that the folks at the RNC see the appeal, that they read it, that they look at the voluminous evidence that this convention was conducted perfectly by the rules, and that they then do the right thing and seat the proper slate of delegates. I'm worried that because time is so tight, they may not do that. They may not go through the tough steps that they have to go through here. But again, I'm still hopeful that the RNC will do the right thing and just seat the delegates that were actually elected at the convention and not some slate of political insiders who nobody ever voted for.
Well, you're in touch almost every day with the campaign, with Trump campaign. You're one of his key attorneys. You're on legacy media almost daily talking about the lawfare and the issues and the resolution to those issues. Have you reached out to the campaign? Have you spoken with anybody in Trump's inner circle about any of this?
I've spoken with a number of folks, both close to the campaign and close to the RNC, about this issue. I know that this Missouri situation is one that people are watching, and I'm hopeful that they do the right thing before the RNC begins. All
right, Bill, let's get into some specifics. So let's get into some what ifs, but specific what ifs about the governorship and this issue. As the governor, how do you rein in a leadership of the Missouri GOP? And the current leader is Nick Myers, and he's got some people. We're going to talk about the players that are surrounding Nick. We have Carrie Allman, we have Derek Good, we have Chris Hansen. We have a few people we're going to be talking about here later in the second half of the program when Mazzy Christensen and Kobe Cullen join us after we say so long to you three gentlemen. But what can you do? What will you do as the governor to rein in this absolutely off-course Missouri GOP?
Yeah, well, we're going to have some new faces in charge of the Missouri State GOP party. That's all there is to it. There's no, for a guy like Nick Myers, I've already publicly called for his resignation. And anybody that's a part of the swamp slate, as I see it, is part of the problem. So that we can't have the GOP leadership, the party, undermining the grassroots like this. As Will said, he's exactly right. This is a travesty, and it should be allowed to go on. As the governor of the state, I'm also going to be the leader of the party. We're going to see new faces. We're going to be empowering the grassroots. When I talk about bringing a reckoning to Jefferson City, that reckoning is going to extend pretty far into the inner establishment workings of the GOP party, and I think that's for the better because we're ultimately going to get a party that's united by principles, not by this petty politics party.
Bill, I just want to note this: two of your opponents, Jay Ashcroft and Mike Kehoe. I'm just going to name them. Those are two of your opponents. They have not commented, at least to my knowledge, they have not commented publicly on this. They have taken a back seat. They are purposefully staying out of it. And for me, they're self-identifying as the rhino problem in Missouri. Your take on that one?
Well, certainly I'm not going to disagree with you. Mike Kehoe has been kind of the physical embodiment of the establishment for many years in Jefferson City. I don't think that anybody's surprised that he's not saying anything. I think there is some surprise that Jay Ashcroft is not saying anything. Jay Ashcroft was actually a part of the slate that got rejected under this coup by the GOP. So to have him now stand by and allow it to go on without saying things, I think that that's a real reflection that Secretary Ashcroft is just really afraid to confront the status quo. He's afraid to confront the swamp, even though he's been trying to portray himself as a conservative grassroots leader for the past 2 years. This lack of action by Ashcroft is why he's fallen in the polls, and I expect it to continue.
Okay, Denny, this goes right to you as Secretary of State. We have the current Secretary of State, Jay Ashcroft. Look, I don't have anything against the guy personally, but when you cannot, in his role, you cannot admit that there's election integrity issues, and you're still using electronic voting machines in the state. He refuses to deal with it. He doesn't admit it. It's a problem. And so is he not saying anything because it begs the question of another situation whereby an election, a vote of the people, is not upheld? Is he that afraid of the issue? He doesn't speak about it. It's befuddling to me. I just don't get it.
No, I agree with you. We need to focus on election integrity. And a lot of people have heard what happened in Puerto Rico the last couple of weeks when they had their primary. They had Dominion voting machines, they had paper ballots, and guess what? They couldn't reconcile the results from the Dominion voting machines to the paper ballots. And so they said, just move along. We'll get it figured out before the general election in November. No, that's uncalled for. I've been a vocal advocate. We need to get rid of the machines. I filed bills in order to hand count ballots. We need to focus on election integrity. We need to have security cameras at our polling locations to see if there's anything nefarious going on. So we have a lot of things that we can do additionally and to help with election integrity here in Missouri, including making sure that non-citizens don't vote in our elections.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is precisely it. These three gentlemen running for key offices in the state of Missouri. Listen to what they're saying. I've told you before, the rhino problem, and people ask me, how do you tell? If you can't admit and talk about election integrity, you don't think there's a problem, you're continuing the use of electronic machines, that's a rhino. You cannot and should not, in good heart and good faith, support that person, whether they're in office or running for re-election or a new candidate. Every one of these three men have spoken out against it and the travesty that's going on in Missouri in the GOP today. So as we close up, guys, I want to give you each the last word, but just in closing, I'm going to throw it back to each of you. I want you to tell people where we can find you, where we can support you, where we can learn more about you. Bill, let's start with you. Where can we find you?
BillEichel.com. We've had over 1,700 volunteers sign up to support our campaign on the website. Over 40,000 individuals sign up to be a part of the effort overall and that are interacting with the campaign. BillEichel.com's got our plank of ideas how we're going to make Missouri stronger, but it's also a great place to go and connect with other like-minded Republicans that are ready to take our state back.
Denny Hoskins, running for Secretary of State in the state of Missouri. Where can we find you, Denny?
Yes, you can find me at DennyHoskins.com, or you can find me on Twitter or X it's at DL Hoskins, or you can find me on Facebook as well. But we've had a ton of support. We've been going to, I think, over 100 events since January, including Lincoln Days, Republican Women events, pachyderms, Faith, Family, Freedom festivals. We've been all over this big, great state. There's not been any city that's been too big or town that's too small. So you can find us out on the campaign trail and going to a lot of these events as well.
Well, Denny, it looks like Will and Bill and I are all in an office talking to you in a studio. You're out on the road. Looks like you're in a van delivering signs and so forth. So cheers to you for working hard tonight. Will, what about you, my friend Will Scharf? Where can we find you, and any closing thoughts on the issue that we're talking about today?
Yeah, our website is votescharf.com. You can find me on all the social media sites, just at Will Scharf. I just want to say to your listeners, it's really important that they focus on these issues and that they focus on Republican primaries. It's not enough to have an R next to your name anymore. We have too many Republicans who are willing to sell out conservative ideals, sell out the grassroots conservatives who put them in office in the first place. And until that dynamic changes, until we hold the people in power accountable, we're going to keep getting more of the same. To me, we have a once-in-a-generation opportunity this election cycle to build a bolder, more conservative vision for this state, for the country. We need to seize that opportunity. Otherwise, it will forever be lost. It's always great to join you, Doug, and I appreciate you having me on.
Thank you, Will, Bill, and Denny. I am honored to be your friend, and I stand with you shoulder to shoulder. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a dream team, if you will, for the state of Missouri. These three gentlemen, look them up, find them, and support them. And I'm going to be back with Maisie Christensen and Kobe Cullen right after this break. They are experts. They know about what's going on in the state. We're going to get into it, show you video, show you footage and evidence of what has happened and what the truth is. I'll be right back. Cheers.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
Ladies and gentlemen, what if I told you that you could change the trajectory of your aging process? Look and feel better, live younger, be more active, less pain when you move around, sleep better, diminish the lines and the wrinkles on your face? Really? This is what I'm telling you. It's possible. You see, low stem cell activity happens when we get older. And it could be causing many of the health problems that some people have in the world today. Because as we get older, we have less stem cell activity, which means we age faster and we heal slower. The secret is a clinically proven and patented phototherapy non-transdermal patch, whose technology is the result of over 90 clinical studies and over 20 years of research. Your healthier life can begin today, and you can discover true age reversal. Age reversal, ladies and gentlemen. Please go to liveyoungerwithdoug.us. Liveyoungerwithdoug.us, ladies and gentlemen. Get over there today. Or if you'd like, text my name, Doug, to 41372. Doug, text it, 41372. And get over to liveyoungerwithdoug.us. Get younger, feel younger. I'm doing it. I'm wearing this patch. I feel great. And so will you. God bless you, ladies and gentlemen. For the Republic. Cheers.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
TWC.health/Brandon. This is one of our sponsors, has been now for a few years. Here it is. You just go there. If you use that URL, folks, you not only save money, but our program gets credit, which helps us keep doing great shows like this for free and pushing them out. TWC.health/Brandon. Look up here at the top of the page where it says Med Kits. Go down there to the one that says Contagion Emergency Kit. Contagion Emergency Kit. That's the one you want, right, Dr. McCullough?
Right. That's going to cover bird flu. Just you start on day one. I think all the animal workers, people in rural areas need to have these. You can't wait around for the pharmacist. If you start early, that comes with telemedicine. We can intensify the antivirals, get other drugs going. Very affordable. Join through Brandon's website. Join as a member because we're working on ways to replace the used drugs, and you have to be a member to get that advantage.
The Right Side with Doug Billings, where we meet in determined prayer and determined patriotism.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to The Right Side with Doug Billings. We meet over here in determined prayer and determined patriotism, talking about the coup that has happened in the state of Missouri and warning you that what has happened in Missouri can happen where you live. That's why this topic is so important. Those of you who have listened to this program for the past 4 years, if I've said anything, I've said this. We've got to get involved on our local level in order to recover this republic from this radical left grasp of tyranny that we are in. And as it turns out, the radical left grasp of tyranny has a lot of help from rhinos, Republicans in name only, and Republicans who are part of the establishment and the swamp. who have a lust and a thirst for power, just as the liberals do, and will not relinquish that grip on power, and will go, as we're seeing in Missouri, to great lengths to keep that power. So I have a couple of guests now that I want to introduce to you, and then I'll bring them on here. Maisie Christensen is a Missouri state representative. She is in the trenches. She is doing what we've called to do with regards to local involvement, and local involvement having a national impact, to quote my friend General Michael Flynn. She is in the trenches. And we have Kobe Collins. He is a Missouri grassroots patriot, somewhat an expert on what's going on, doing a lot of work behind the scenes for remedies, and doing a lot of work on behind the scenes to try to figure out what we can do to reclaim the slate of delegates that has been robbed from us. So both of them were at the Missouri GOP convention in May and witnessed firsthand that resounding victory that was given to the state delegates that belong to the true grassroots MAGA Trump delegate slate. That was the group that won, resoundingly so. And so here they are, Maisie and Kobe. Welcome to the right side, you guys.
Hey, thanks for having us on.
How are you? Everything well? You holding up?
Yeah, I'm holding up.
I was not at the convention, Maisie. I was not there. I've seen videos of it. I've certainly followed the escapades and the shenanigans on social media. I've spoken with you a couple of times about it. I've seen what you've said on X and other social media platforms. I have posted about it. I'm going to depend on you to give your expert opinion about what I say about it. And there's Kobe. There he is. Welcome to the right side, Kobe.
Thank you. Sorry I was late.
No, that's okay. We're all good. So I was just saying that I'm gonna walk through my opinions and my impression of what's going on, and then I want to turn it over to you guys, and I want you to tell me if I'm on target or not. So let me just kind of walk the audience through this. The Missouri GOP chairman is a guy by the name of Nick Myers. We have Carrie Almond in the mix. I believe she's on a committee that's titled the Contest Committee. She might chair that committee, if I'm not mistaken. And there's another player, and this is a guy by the name of Derek Good. I'm going to get to him in a minute, an attorney. There are sources that say that he works for the same law firm that represents the Missouri GOP. I cannot independently prove that, but that's what I'm hearing. And then there's a guy by the name of Chris Howard. He works closely with Nick Myers and Carrie Almond. He was the parliamentarian, at least for a time, during the convention in May. So am I correct, at least in general, about my Reader's Digest approach to those characters?
Yeah, in general, the only thing I'd say is Carrie is on the committee on contests, but she is not the chairperson. Okay. But she's definitely on it.
Very good. Well said. Well met. All right. I want to show you a video clip. I want to show you Nick Myers asking the attendees of the May convention if they accepted new credentialing rules that were being adopted. The credentialing rules had already, at this point in the video, been read out loud to everybody in attendance. Logan, let's play clip number 1 there for him.
As my parliamentarians tell me, and I believe to be true, we will do a standing vote. All right? All those in favor of accepting the credentials report stand. Okay, so if you want to not accept it, or in other words, a nay, let's all sit down first. I think we see that number. If you are against accepting the credentials report, please stand. Seeing no nays and an overwhelming number of yeses, the credentials report is accepted.
Okay, so it's pretty obvious, guys, pretty obvious. Now, I want to talk a little bit about credentialing and about what's going on there, okay, just so we're clear. because credentialing is now the issue that they're objecting to. They're saying, right? They're saying what the credentialing process wasn't done appropriately. It's illegitimate. Therefore, the slate can't stand. So after that resound, everybody in the room stood up and voted in favor of this, and not a single person, maybe one on the peripheral. And I understand that the view of that particular camera didn't get the entire room, but I think it gives a pretty good idea. All right. So what is the credentialing issue that's at the heart of the issue here that's causing the problem, apparently, after this landslide approval?
Well, the issue is with the credentialing was done by the Missouri GOP. And so we find out five hours later that the Missouri GOP credentialing committee didn't have the right list, or maybe they did have the right list. I mean, we'll never know, because apparently they've lost their list of credentials. And so to get moving on with the convention, they decided to have everyone stand up to be able to approve the credentials. I find it ironic that now when they challenge us, they say, well, the credentials were done wrong. This doesn't work anymore. But the very people that have done these challenges, you didn't see them standing up. You actually don't even see them go to the mic and say, hey, these people aren't delegates. These people aren't delegates. They had nothing. And at the end of the day, it's because when they did credentialing, and then once the grassroots took over, then they decided that maybe they didn't do credentialing the way they wanted to.
Kobe, any thoughts on that?
Well, Maisie is exactly correct. You know, you saw there, the vote was unanimous. The chairman himself says he doesn't see any nays. And so the two attorneys that have filed this lawsuit or challenge to us were both present there. They were both delegates. They had their opportunity to stand up and say, we don't agree. But they didn't stand up and say, we don't agree. We can't assume just they were part of the unanimous side. So why are they now challenging it? Well, they're challenging it because they lost. The grassroots won, and they don't like the results. But it's not because the challenging was failure. The challenging had its, the credentials had its challenges, but ultimately we resolved those challenges to a unanimous decision by the body, and that should stand.
Excellent. All right. Now I want to play a portion of that clip again, because I want to draw everyone's attention to a gentleman by the name of Chris Howard. Now, Chris was at that moment one of the parliamentarians. There's two of them. As you watch this video on the left side of the screen, Chris is the gentleman in a suit and a tie. I believe the tie is red. And I want you to watch his body language. Watch this guy as the resounding landslide victory for the acceptance of these new rules goes into play. Logan, let's play that portion of the clip.
In favor of accepting the credentials report stand.
There's Chris. Yep. Okay. All right. Go on. Keep on playing. Yep. Yep. He's not too happy.
If you want to not accept it, or in other words, a nay, let's all sit down first. I think we see that number. If you are against accepting the credentials report, please stand.
Oh, what happened?
Seeing no nays and an overwhelming number of yeses, the credentials report is accepted.
All right, Logan. Okay, so there, Maisie, Kobe. I mean, he's obviously not expecting the landslide. What the heck is going on? He only applauds at the end because he feels like he has to. Oh my gosh. I mean, am I right? Look at that guy. The body language says it all.
So what's going on there is we had just went through a 4.5-hour debacle, and he was expecting someone to object. And when no one objected and it was unanimously approved, then clearly the establishment had lost, and we were going to proceed that day, and the grassroots were going to win. And so I just think he was surprised by that decision, by the fact that it was unanimous.
Maisie, you had something to say?
No, I think the exact same thing. You know, their whole basis of this entire argument is on the credentialing. And clearly, as you've seen in the video, Nick was excited that they got approved. He said, thank gosh, you know, and they moved on. What they weren't prepared for is what happens next.
Right. and I want to keep on going here. So many clips and so little time, right? So I want to bring in a clip that has Nick Myers, the leader of the Missouri GOP, and he's talking about they did have a credentialing problem, but then Nick says we've solved that problem. It's been worked out. We've got it all. It's all good. And you'll notice that halfway through this clip or so, there's a gentleman that walks by the front right when Nick Myers is saying we had this problem. A gentleman by the name of Derek Good. It just happens to walk by the video, and I'll get to Derek in a minute and why he's a. We already mentioned him briefly, but he's the attorney who apparently works for a law firm that represents the Missouri GOP, and all of that, of course, the GOP chaired by Nick Myers. So, Logan, if we have that, let's just play the remainder of that clip and watch this discussion.
I've talked to many of you about this, but I need to talk about all of you about this. So, as you are aware, at the state convention, we had credential problems, okay? So, I'm going to tell you what the circumstances of that was. So, about a month out, we knew that we were having trouble with the CD delegates and the state delegates. That was mixed somewhat. So about a month out, we noticed that was the problem. Miles ordered a complete audit of that with Trey and Chandler and members of the Credentials Committee, and we were confident that we had rectified that situation. And that going into the convention, we were ready and had established who the delegates were and who the alternates were. Well, Saturday morning, we weren't in as good a shape as we thought. The more we tried to rectify that situation, the worse it got. And so we came to the conclusion that we were going to have to do that truly in an old school manner of reading names and standing and that sort of thing. If you were there, you saw what happened. And so that's how we accomplished the credentialing process, and that's the problem that we had. It was not anticipated, it was not intentional, but it happened. We did establish what the...
Okay, all right, so he's basically, tell me if I'm wrong, he's admitting there was a problem with credentialing, but he's saying the problem was solved. Maisie?
Yeah, by hand counting. Is exactly what he said. He said they had a problem and they fixed it by hand counting, which of course, as we've seen previously on your show with Will, Denny, and Bill, they were just talking about hand counting. Hand counting's great. It works awesome. And you know what? It took that process. It took them like 3 hours to try to work on their machines. When they did hand counting, barely took an hour.
Yeah. So, Kobe, obviously, it's obvious. I mean, he's right there. He's admitted the problem solved. Yet there are people filing complaints that says it was a problem, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Absolutely. He totally contradicts their entire point.
Okay.
And
all right. Let me. I know we've got about 7 minutes left, so I want to. There's so much to talk. We could do an hour on this, I know, or more. Another clip, and this one features Chris Howard, who was explaining that there were 3 slates put forward in May. One was from a conservative women's group. The other one was put forth by Nick Myers himself, the chairman of the Missouri GOP, and the other one was put forth by you guys, the true grassroots MAGA Trump slate, if you will. I probably butchered that, but that's the slate that ended up getting the landslide victory. In this particular clip, Chris Howard is explaining why the other 2 slates were either disqualified or withdrew. Logan, let's play that clip.
So one of the slates that had been sent forth to the nominating committee has just been withdrawn. So at the request of the chairman of the Missouri Republican Party. So that slate is withdrawn. There is another slate, Conservative Women for Trump slate, that was proposed. It is an incomplete slate.
Point of inquiry, who withdrew the slate?
I said, the chairman of the Missouri Republican Party.
Can I see the slate? And why is he the only one that can submit this slate?
Okay, so obviously people on it were upset. Chris is saying Of the 3 slates that have been put forth at this convention, one of them was withdrawn by Nick himself. His slate, he withdrew it. The other one was disqualified because it didn't have enough delegates on it. Now, I'm going to say the bad words here because I don't want you guys to be labeled with list. Billings is going to be the one that says it. He's going to give the hypotheses here. So my hypothesis is this. They didn't have enough votes. Nick Myers and they didn't have the votes. And I think that Carrie Almond on this contest committee goes to him and says, look, we don't want you to be embarrassed publicly. Withdraw. And by the way, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, I'll fix it. With a glass of scotch, we'll have a couple of cigars in the back room. We'll fix it because I'm on this contest committee. And all you got to do is file an appeal or file some injunction or file a complaint, and I'll take care of it. But don't embarrass yourself in public, Nick. Just withdraw your slate. Let them have their 15 minutes of fame. We'll get them in the end. Am I anywhere near reality, Maisie? Let me begin with you.
It sounds like you were there. That's exactly what happened. There are some people that have stated, so we gave them extra time to be able to figure out their slate situation because that's the kind of people that we are. We have some class. And that was one from a bystander said that Carrie was talking to them saying, get away, like don't submit it for this very reason. It was almost like you were there, Doug.
Well, and I wasn't, and I promise, ladies and gentlemen, the audience was not there. Kobe, what's your take on this? I mean, these kinds of this is if this does not reek of swamp-like creature dwellers, I don't know what does. Go ahead.
You're absolutely correct. And in your summary, I know it may not be factual, but it is very close if it is. But, they had 45 minutes to resubmit the slates. And for Nick in particular, all he had to do was combine his 2 sheets of paper. And literally in seconds, he could have resubmitted his slate, but he chose to withdraw it, I think because he knew he would lose and he didn't want to be on record losing. And then he had that ace in the hole with Carrie on the contest committee so that she could taint the jury. And so that became their plan B. And right now their plan B is working, but we haven't had our final say yet.
Amen. All right. And in the time we have remaining, I do want to bring up this guy. He's a real beauty. Derek Good, an attorney. He sends an email from his office as an attorney with his title at the bottom of the email and so forth that basically says, hey, I'm going to contest this. He sends it out to the Missouri GOP, makes no secret of this email. It goes out to everybody. But he could have objected. He could have at the convention said something about this. Hey, wait a minute, put the brakes on. I don't think this is legitimate. But he lets the vote go through. Everything passes with flying colors as far as your slate is concerned. And he sends this email to you guys, an attorney, kind of not saying necessarily that by its nature it's threatening, but he's an attorney. And from what I'm hearing, works for the law firm that represents Nick Myers and the Missouri GOP. I don't know. Smells like conflict of interest. Call me crazy. Maybe some ulterior motives going on here. Kobe, let me go to you first this time. What are your thoughts on this aspect of this issue?
I can't really speak to what his motives were per se, but I can tell you by his actions, he had the opportunity to contest it at the convention. And he didn't. Then he comes in later. He lost his delegate spot, but he really wanted to go. So he was just hurt that he had lost and was going to challenge it. And I do think there's certainly some potential there for conflict of interest if he absolutely represents the Missouri Republican Party. He shouldn't be going against them if he also has a conflict of interest there.
Maisie, any thoughts on good Mr. Good, who's not good at all?
Yeah, don't know him. I guess maybe I don't care to know him. But no, I think Kobe said it just straight on the head.
All right. In our closing moments here, my opinion. Ladies and gentlemen, my First Amendment rights of freedom of speech right here. So my opinions. Nick Myers, Carrie Almond, Derek Good, Chris Howard. If I'm not mistaken, they're all on this new illegitimate delegate slate going to Milwaukee. That's and the RNC National Convention that gets underway Sunday, right? They're all on this thing.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Yep. Okay. They're working in tandem. Again, my opinion. They're working in tandem to undermine the goodwill of the state of Missouri, its citizens, and to disassemble this duly elected slate of delegates that comes from the true Grassroots Patriots of Missouri. Maisie, I'm going to give you 30 seconds, closing thoughts. By the way, I know you're a Missouri state rep. Tell us where we can find you, your website, whatever. But what are your closing thoughts in 30 seconds or less?
Here's my closing thoughts. The reality of what happened in Missouri, every single state, when they see how this has taken place. What happens is the grassroots can decide that they don't want this certain GOP. They can take it over, and then the GOP of whatever state, like ours, can say, oh, the credentialing was done bad. Sorry, we actually have none of these voter records. We have nothing. We threw them away. But now we get to decide who was elected. This is an extreme issue that is going on right here in Missouri, and it's going to start happening because this right now is saying the president it was going to happen across statewide. You can find me on Facebook. I'm a Facebook gal, Maisie for Missouri. You can also find me on my website at maisieformissouri.com, and you can find me on X or Twitter at Christ Maisie, which is Mazzie.
Awesome. And you're right. This, if other states and other states GOPs are looking at this and going, hey, look what Nick Myers just did. We can do that. Kobe, I know that you're working on some specific legal avenues and so forth. In 45 seconds or less, give us an update. What are the pathways forward for the grassroots true patriots of Missouri in this issue?
So we are still appealing. I will be in Milwaukee on Wednesday of this week and going to stay for 10 days. I'm going to be there no matter what. But I think we're going to win in front of the Credentials Committee. The facts are in our favor. The 350 affidavits, the videos, the facts are in our favor. And I think we're going to win in front of that Credentials Committee. But we could use your support on social media. People share this video. People comment. Take to Twitter, take to Truth Social, take to Facebook, and let people know you support the Missouri grassroots.
Right on. You guys, listen, I want you to know, both of you, I stand with you shoulder to shoulder. If there's anything that I can do, I'm at your service. This is outrageous. Missouri is my home state. Born and raised in Jackson, Missouri, just outside, well, the same county that Kansas City is in, Jackson County. And we can't let it stand. So, yes, this program being broadcast right now live on X and on Rumble, on YouTube, and on Facebook. So if you're on those platforms, just look for me. The Right Side with Doug Billings on Facebook, X, all of it. You can find me. Easy enough. Share this interview. Share this program. Yes. And time is of the essence. If they can do it in Missouri, they can do it where you live. Maisie, Kobe, I can't thank you enough. You are the epitome of what it means to be a patriot. This is exactly what the founders had in mind, what you two are doing. Local involvement. Look, ladies and gentlemen, forget Washington, D.C. The way that we save and rescue this republic is in your local counties, your state. Yes. That's where it happens. Maisie, Kobe, am I right?
That's
Absolutely.
Exactly right.
Get involved in your local county county committee, if I could spit it out. Get involved. Absolutely.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, Kobe and Maisie, thank you very much. We'll look for you on social media. Thanks for joining me here on The Right Side. I appreciate you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, this is it. This is what we're up against. The radical left is bad enough as it is. But with friends like these rhinos who we have in this example in the Missouri GOP, who needs enemies, right? We have got a task ahead of us. Again, I urge you, look into vetting your Republican candidates. If they want to have an R after their name, please make sure that they earn that right. Vet them, understand where they stand. Get involved in your local, county, and statewide Republican committees. Republican committee men and women are needed. These things, get involved. Find someone in your community who is connected and get involved. We've got to begin to do it. This is the way to victory. This is the way we do it. And I hope that you share this episode far and wide. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in this together. You, me, to save the Republic. Believe it. Cheers.
Thank you for joining me today. As you can tell, sometimes what I like to do is just to share with you what I'm reading and studying God's Word. And lately I've been studying through the prophets, Isaiah, Jeremiah. And what a contrast between these two prophets. Isaiah talks about the kingdom of God, talks about how the lion will lay down with the lamb, talks about all the blessings that God's going to give to us as we go into the millennial kingdom. And they are great and they are many. And so not only was he have a very positive message, but it was a message that spanned for 4 kings. That's why they call him the Dean of the Prophets. I refer to him that way often because in his lifetime, he spanned so many kings and their kingdoms. But there's a sharp contrast to that, and that's the prophet Jeremiah. Matter of fact, Jeremiah is known as the weeping prophet. Nobody wants a ministry of weeping. Nobody wants a ministry where you have to deal with the tragedies and the sorrows. But why would God have a prophet that would be called the weeping prophet? And here's why. The point of the messages of Jeremiah was to get Israel to repent, to change their course. Remember, in one of our lessons, we looked at the fact that he talked about there was a time of standing still. Your car was in park or neutral. There was a time of going forward. There was a time of going backward. And remember that individually, each of us are doing one of those things. We're either marking time, standing still, we're in park or neutral, or maybe we're moving forward regardless of the conditions around us. Or maybe some of us have quit and we're going backward. And so he gives a whole message to the backsliding people of his time. They were the ones who forsook Israel, forsook Jesus and God, I should say. They deserted the living waters, so they were drinking from broken cisterns where all kinds of garbage and rubbish could fall into it. And so he had a ministry of weeping. But I want to look at some of the verses because I think they have a great lesson for us today. And one of those is in Jeremiah chapter 10. It says, "For as much as there is none like unto thee, O Lord, thou art great, thy name is great in might." A little bit later in verse 10, "But the Lord is the true God. He is the living God, an everlasting King. At his wrath the earth shall tremble, nations shall not be able to abide his indignation." And so it talks about how he made the earth, he controls the earth, and yet he's so sympathetic to us that he beckons us, he wants us to come and to draw near to him. And see, what is true for the nation of Israel is true for us as individuals. God often allows us to go through difficult circumstances so that we learn to trust him, we learn to cling to him. And the prophet Jeremiah, he was sent in a very special ministry. One of the special things that is found in this book, we'll hop a few chapters over to Jeremiah chapter 25 and listen to this passage because I know I've referred to it. I don't know that I always look it up, but I've referred to it many times. He says this, Jeremiah 25, verse 11, "And this whole land shall be a desolation and a horror, and those nations shall serve the king of Babylon 70 years. And what is incredible is that that's exactly how long Israel served captivity in Babylon. Matter of fact, I think based on what it says in the book of Daniel, Daniel must have got the writings of Jeremiah while he was captive in Babylon. And Daniel knew that they would be there for 70 years. I go a step further. I think that may even be one of the reasons why Daniel said no when the writing was on the wall. And he had a chance to be promoted. He said no. He said, I know that the kingdom is found wanting. It's about to be over. I don't want it. Why would you want to be the president of a company that's going broke? Why would you want to be the owner of something that's about to be destroyed with fire? And so Daniel said, no, I don't want to be a ruler in the kingdom of Babylon. It's about to go under. Remember the writing on the wall. He says, the days are numbered. It's been weighed, it's been found wanting. And sure enough, that very night, God switched the kingdom from the Babylonians to the Medes and the Persians. The weeping prophet foretold this. You see, sometimes by weeping, he would get the attention of people, And he sure got it of the Daniel. And Daniel had incredible insight. And so the weeping prophet delivered a message that maybe nobody else would have delivered or heard. I don't know that I want my ministry to be that of a weeping preacher, because it's not fun to do that. But the after point of it is really fun. He was also the prophet who gave the message concerning in the household, in the lineage, there was a man by the name of Jeconiah or Coniah, and that he would be childless, and he would never have a person sit on the throne of David. And that's really the descendants of the stepfather of Jesus, Joseph. And so if Jesus would have been in that line, if his real father would have been Joseph, he would have been cursed. He could have never been the Messiah. But he was of the lineage of Nathan. And Nathan's line of the house of David didn't have that curse. The prophet Jeremiah, the weeping prophet, is the one that gave that announcement. I mean, this is incredible. And so if we go back to these chapters 10 and 11 and 12, it's interesting because he talks about this. He says, not the wise man glory in his wisdom, neither let the mighty man glory in his might, let not the rich man glory in his riches. Three things. You can glory in wisdom, you could glory in your power, you could glory in your riches. See, even the natural man can enjoy those things. But the point was, he said, there's something far better. And he said, Israel, what you're doing, you're trading weeping or merriment now when you know you're not living as you should. They were merry because they were neglecting their duties to God. The neglect came from the leaders, from the priests. It came from even the kings.